Hello everyone, welcome to my first ever devlog on the game I'm currently developing called Full Power. This is a game that I had an idea for about a year now, and I have collected a lot of footage. And I would like to make a video for all of you guys to look, look at, watch, and also for myself so that I could see that I made some progress, actually. So when starting this project, I've started with little to no real coding experience, and I was very confused. Leading up to this, I've made a few projects in Unity just for testing purposes. I looked up many tutorials on how to make actual Unity games, but once I got that feel, I then actually started working on this project. So here's some very early footage of my game. I believe this is actually the first video I've ever recorded. Very basic. Got a tile map set up and was able to get a character to move around and place some trees everywhere. But starting off, I didn't really have a purpose or idea of what this game would actually become. And so I was just kind of like experimenting at the time. I wanted it to be sort of a God simulator game, but like with a twist. I always loved God simulator games. Worldbox was pretty cool, but I didn't really see any progression into it. But I wanted to make a game kind of like that in a way. And so here was my first attempt of trying to create an intelligent AI in my game. So those creatures right there are actually squirrels, and they all they do is just follow the player at this point. But I tried to make them focus other things and kind of have a mind of their own. So at this point of development, the game was just kind of turning into a nature simulator. You know, you have like all these trees spawning, and those trees are also spawning in new trees. So it's just kind of like a nature simulator, and I was actually pretty amazed that this was possible in Unity. And so then I then started adding even more nature, even more stuff, and it pretty much just became a god nature creation simulator. Wolves were added at this time. They would hunt down squirrels and do other wolf stuff. Also, a random map generator was added, so I could just click one button and the whole map would generate over and over. If I didn't like one, I would just reset it. I didn't really enjoy the isometric view that much, so then I also just swapped it back to the normal square based. So I continue to add a lot more features into the game, kind of going with the nature gods simulator kind of game, but still didn't really have a clear direction of where I would go. So I added like a menu, a lot more biomes and plants and trees and mobs, and also added this shy guy that if anyone was near him, he would start crying and one shot everything. Pretty cool. But yeah, at this point, I was just trying to create a sustainable environment that wouldn't die off in like 5 minutes. So I was working very hard on setting all the stats correctly, making different AIs and behaviors that things would do to keep the environment alive and flourishing and constantly like evolving. But it was at this point of development that I had an idea of what my game would be like. There's this old game I used to play so much when I was younger. It's called Totem Tribe. It was an RTS game, but it was also casual in a way. There was hidden objects and items you could collect throughout the map, and there was a story to it, even though it was a RTS game. And I wanted to make something like that. I wanted to recreate that experience with a god simulator. So, for this game to become an RTS from a nature god simulator, I would have to add some sort of RTS elements into the game. So, my first idea was to add some villages that you control over. And so, these villages would kind of develop on their own. They would harvest trees, they would build structures, and you would be responsible for creating the world for them to flourish in. I then continued adding some more RTS elements into the game. I added a fog of war sort of system, a a banner movement system, so you actually had a little bit of control over your villagers. But I didn't want every single action of every single villager to be decided by the player. I wanted them to have a sort of a mind of their own, and that they can kind of build and explore without the player actually telling them to. Overall, I was quite impressed that I started off this project with pretty much zero coding knowledge and got this far. The AI for this game took takes the most time out of all of it. I try to keep the artwork to a very minimum, but once the game releases, I do plan on adding a lot more cooler graphics. So another feature I added to the villages was building buildings based on their environment. So for the villagers in the savannah, they can build savannah houses, which are made from acacia logs that could be harvested from the savannah. If there was a village in the mushroom biome, there would be mushroom houses, which would give your villagers different stats. Haven't added those yet, but it'll be a cool concept to explore in the future. Just to have a different spawn for each village causes them to develop in a certain way. I also decided to get rid of the character the player would control. It didn't really seem like it was necessary, and it just made the game feel a little less responsive since whenever you spawn something, the character would have to move over there and then start summoning it. And I just felt like it didn't really feel like the player was a god. So ended up removing him so the player could just spawn things anywhere. And the villagers, they would then be able to explore tiles on their own. But yeah, that is pretty much all the footage I have over the years of my devlog shortened down. I do plan on making this a weekly series and going in more depth on each thing I do every week. This has just been kind of broad generalization of my thought process throughout the year. And there would be way too many things I would have to get into to make this game. So many things, so much AI, so many things to cover. that it would almost be an hour video going through all of the decisions and stuff I've went through. Also, if you're interested in playing a full Pawer demo project I made, there will be my website link below. There you'll be able to get the demo. Also, if you really want to support this game, please wishlist it on Steam. It would mean the world to me. Thank you, and thank you so much for watching.